Hi, welcome to Soulstream Media. I'm your host, Stacy St. Clair. I'm super excited about my guest today, Eric Rosen. Eric is a boardroom astrologer, shaman, and integration specialist for entrepreneurs. He assists his clients in going from feeling stuck to regaining clarity, vitality, and purpose. So we are so honored to have you here today. And it's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
It's the new moon. I hope we'll touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I know you, and at the end, everyone stayed to the end because he has some amazing offerings. Eric has some amazing classes and courses that he has going on. And of course, he does see private clients. I personally have been a private client of his for at least 4 years, if not 5. I can say that he's been 100% spot on, even though some things I didn't want to hear. And then they just came true in my life the way that Eric gently coached me when I would say, he said, for instance, one time I might live in sort of a community. I heard commune. I said, there's no way in hell I'm living in a commune. But he said, no, it doesn't have to be like that. And you gently explained it. I still didn't, a lot of times it's over our head when we have a session with you and it integrates and comes true, folds in our life. And you are so good at gently guiding and calming me. And I did end up living in a golf course community. And that was, perfect for me. There were a lot of professionals. It wasn't like a retirement. They were professionals. We had a lot of fun. And it was communal. So tell us, first of all, can you tell us how you got into astrology and what you love so much about it?
Yeah, it was actually kind of ironic. I was refusing to go on the spiritual journey originally back in circa 2016. I was just very much about the gym and diet regimens and supplementation. Everything was very physical oriented. But it was actually a romantic relationship that was like the Trojan horse for like introducing astrologer that she followed. And at first I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. Kind of like when I was giving you your reading, like, I don't know about that. But then the relationship ultimately didn't work out. I was looking for answers. I started following that astrologer, and he was like dead accurate with all of his stuff. Sometimes he would literally send notifications through the app. Like in the moment, I would be thinking about that thing. I'm like, this dude's a wizard. How does he know this? And then only 2 weeks after I was following him, he announced that he was doing a school. And I took the school and it was the most fun I'd ever had in my life. There was like past life remembrances, like coming in of like, oh, I've done this before. This is like very natural to me. So, first person asked me for a reading in a feng shui class. She loved it. And as they say, the rest is history after that.
Yeah, well, I have loved every one of my sessions over the years, and you're very intuitive besides the, science of the astrology. I find your sessions, to be super intuitive. How did that come a little later, or did that your intuition open up right away?
They were kind of like happening synchronistically. Like one example was as I was studying that astrology back in 2017, there was a book recommended, really good book, Bringers of the Dawn, of Legends, Barbara. Yeah, I recommend it. But I would only like read the book whenever I felt called to do it. Open the book.
We're breaking up pretty badly. Is there anything on your phone or anybody in the house that's on?
No, like I said, it, fortunately, past few days, it's like most cooperative. So
Okay, hang on. Let me see if there's anything I can do here.
let me see if I can quick
Well, yeah, sometimes turning the video off helps, but
right there.
okay, it says it updated.
Yeah. So what I did
Do you want to
was,
turn your video off, Eric? And sometimes that will help.
yeah, what I did, if we want to
Okay, now
try
you're
this.
frozen. Want to try to turn your video off, and maybe that will help.
Okay.
Okay, back to your intuition amping up.
Yeah. So basically, still not working.
Now I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me retrace my steps.
You were telling us
Yeah.
how your intuition started to heighten.
Right. So as I would read this book and these synchronicities were setting where that was congruently happening in my life at that time, it started to reinforce this confidence that I could trust what I was experiencing in the moment, not just the desires of the action steps that I wanted to take or not take. but I also started experiencing being in conversation. Okay, let's give it a
Mm,
shot.
we'll keep going.
Yeah. So I would be engaging in conversation with people. Also, we would just be talking, and I would say something that would just naturally, what I thought was a thought form, that I was just having a thought about the situation. And it would be some response, from them like, oh, I was just thinking about that thing, or I was looking for an answer about that. So it started to kind of reinforce this confidence like, oh, I'm picking up on something in the moment. This isn't just random thought. There's something more here at play, things that I don't know about in terms of information, and then able to present it to people in conversation. So the confidence just continued to build with those natural candid conversations, but also in readings and sessions as well.
That's great. Well, it is a wonderful part of sessions with you and your coaching. Okay, tell us, if you will, what is going on in the world? Follow you. And everyone can check Eric out at astrology by ericrosen.com. I follow you on YouTube and I think Facebook and Instagram. But tell the audience a little bit, things seem pretty intense. I thought 2020 was intense. We've all been, is everyone on the planet feeling this or just people that are intended to wake up and have a transformation? What is going on out there?
I definitely think it's a global awakening of sorts, and that can take different forms, right? That can take the conscious form for those that are, embracing inner levels of self awareness. You could say reading between the lines between what goes on in the headlines in the world, but people that are maybe less aware, maybe less self reflective, and taking things at face value in the media. I think that's more of a disturbed sort of expression that people are having of like agitation, frustration. So I definitely feel like we are all feeling it. The transits happening in the astrology are so incredibly rare. And because the way they influence people and events on earth, I don't think it matters like where you are or where you live. Like it's feeling these undertones of great change, of great shifts and great awakening right now.
Yeah, certainly feel it. So obviously astrology is a great resource. You are a great resource. What else would you suggest for the listeners and viewers as we navigate this intense time? And second question, you may want to answer this first. Does it compare to any other time on the planet, or is this a completely new lineup of planets and intensity?
It's a little bit of both. I would say there's base layers of, we've seen similar things. Like, I mean, we're talking like start of the Babylonian Empire, transits, right? Like a redefinition of civilization. We're talking about things where we've built the last 400 plus years on a global network of systems and world integration. There's also periods converging too through this astrology of like war and things like that. But then there's also layers sprinkled in on top where I don't think we've seen the convergence of so many different transits that bring up so many different historical aspects at the same time. So that's the rarity. And that honestly comes from the slower moving planets that are further from Earth, that are more the spiritual planets like Pluto, Uranus, Neptune. The fact that they're all in positions where they're making sacred geometric aspects to each other, because that's part of astrology, is paying attention. How are they orienting in terms of, you could call it the geography, if you will, their positioning. The fact that they're in the positions that they are at the same time, that is like what's really making it so rare and so much potency happening all at once. It reminds me of like a cook in a kitchen, like intensely making a big pot of stew on the stove, but then having to make like multiple pots of different types of stew. And they're not all the same ingredients and they need different temperatures. So it's like we've got more than one pot on the stove, if you will. We've all got a lot going on that we're paying attention to personally and collectively. So it's kind of a lot to pay attention to and kind of spiritually manage. To answer your question about other things to pay attention to, I would definitely recommend, people find a good astrologer that they resonate with, that isn't only just like I'll say this somewhat tongue in cheek, like pop astrology of is your ex coming back, you know, or that sort of thing. But actually, astrologers that do present more of the collective information of what are we going through, because like currently as we're talking with all this Capricorn energy, the new moon, it's a highly spiritually mature energy that's asking people to really think about their long-term goals, ambitions, like purpose, legacy, and to be really spiritually humble and refined in that approach. Like this is a really big shift we're about to go through here in the spring. And then the other thing that I would say besides the astrology would be paying attention to human design, which is sort of like a sister modality to astrology, because we're going through a very monumental shift here in February 2027 with human design. We're going from what's called the right angle cross of planning in this 400 plus years of global systems being integrated to what's called the rise of the sleeping phoenix. And so for everyone that's been doing this deep introspective work, and deconditioning their sort of worldviews, this is sort of like that bridge, you could say, that we've been waiting for to initiate some really great actions and plans and connections and community, and hopefully potentially in a good way using technology to get those expressions and ideas out there. Because with all this disruption that we're seeing in the world and even in our own personal lives of things feeling unsettled, it's sort of like the concrete that's broken apart in order to, you could say, plant a new beautiful garden of expression that's a little bit more poetic of the soul. So like, what is our creations, what are our ideas, purpose, the skill set that we want to express to the world, to sort of not really fall for any excuses, especially right now, of like getting in our own way of like, well, I can't do it because of this or this fear or this uncertainty or this doubt. And it's like the red tape has lifted, in a big way. And so now it's really just up to those that really want to, you could say, take this self starter, more entrepreneurial mindset to their personal life, their life with work, business, family, all the things, and to actually initiate and take these things forward and to be okay with fear and uncertainty.
Just struck me that overall, with a lot of entrepreneurs taking on their sole purpose,
Yeah.
that is a lot of moving from, victim possibly to, our authentic empowered selves, and just really trusting our guidance, trusting, our astrology, trusting that it's all going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, I had a big failure this summer, but thank God I did. That's my new thing. I'm just like, if anyone says, "Oh, I lost my job," or "Oh, my marriage is ending," I'm like inside, I'm going, "Congratulations," because, it's breaking apart like that concrete vision, broken concrete
Yeah.
vision you said, and what's gonna be exposed is their authentic self. Hopefully, when something we think a tower moment happens, we lean in and use it to clear out all of our blocks.
Yeah. And I do think, from an ego perception going forward the rest of this year, there will be quote unquote failures, like spiritual lessons like for the ego. But when we maintain like a higher perspective and keep the vibe up, the frequency up, and that we initiate the things that we're doing to be of service, to help people to get those ideas out without being so outcome attached, dependent, I think that's where it actually goes really well. I think that, you know, this is actually really beautiful gates that are opening for people that have these really great ideas and ambitions, but there will be lessons if it's like the small minded ego that's like trying to do it from a place of fear or, insecurity or chasing the dangling carrot, if you will, because this is ultimately taking us back to a spiritual renewal of going, I'm doing this because this lights my soul up. This feels, intensely awesome. And this is me. And this is my skill set. This is what I've been learning and wanting to do more of, and branch out and offer more of the things that make me me. And that's for everybody.
Yeah. I think it's hard not to get attached to a vision that we have and how we think something's supposed to go. Once we get momentum, I think that's where the danger is of spinning out or crashing and burning, or
Sure.
and then again, it's not a bad thing because it gets us out of the ego and back to our authentic self and connection with spirit. So, well, thank you. Thank you for all that. And tell us about your premium offer you have coming up.
Yeah, so the new one that I'm doing is actually a year-long container. It's called the Alchemy Arc. It's a year-long container that I do with people that are in the entrepreneurial, creative, visionary sort of mindset. And if they're wanting to kind of craft more of like a legacy purpose thing, they're wanting to think more long term. Like they're not necessarily so much in a stuck position in life. They're kind of like starting to they're a little seasoned spiritually, but they're ready. They're ready to go. They're ready to really like make their mark because with this kind of having an entrepreneurial, impactful, sovereign sort of energy this year, especially starting mid-February and going into especially 2027, it's like this is the opportunity for people to not hide in like the system, if you will,
Mhm.
of just being in a support role that's actually demeaning to the spiritual side of self. There is still leadership in people that gravitate towards support roles of other people's visions or, working the 9 to 5. But as you were saying, it's kind of like, is that really like moving the soul forward? Is that really spiritually inspired? Is that drawing from an inner innate sort of skill set that's very exciting and palpable for the individual? So this is designed to help people essentially build out their vision, like especially for the entrepreneurs, like their business, they want to connect it more to the tech side of things, to the AI side of things, consciously, ethically, to get that out there, to address any inner wounds that are holding them back, and to really just like take whatever it is that they're wanting to do and go full scale with it. I was very fortunate to learn through a lot of my exploration in my journey spiritually, like going through past lives that I spent quite a few as that sort of priest, high magi energy, like that was the person that the kings, the queens, the emperors were turned to for that sacred knowledge of the understanding of divine timing and astrology and just more of that mystical reverence that we used to have in past civilizations. And so I'm able to like take that to the modern day king, queen, emperor that's going to be more in that entrepreneur, leader, visionary position and kind of like help them execute it in more of this like quantum manifestation type way.
Amazing. That's great. Well, I know whoever signs up for that class is going to be more than thrilled and satisfied. And I think, I'd really love to talk about just for a few minutes, just letting and supporting the Soul Stream Media viewers that, you can find your purpose. You can move out of just maybe a job you've settled for, or you went to college, spent a lot of money to get a degree to work in an occupation you thought you were meant to, or maybe you did it for the money or the prestige, and it's not working out, and you can feel it in your soul that you're meant to do something else. Taking the risk, I highly recommend a support team. And they're out there. We have many resources with Soulstream Media and Eric being one. So what would you say to the person that has some fear or and some limiting beliefs that they may be stuck in that occupation that they spent a lot of money on, and they know in the depths of their soul that they should be doing something else?
Yeah, I think it's especially right now for anyone, listening to this here, I would give it especially before the end of April, like it's okay to go slow and even up until mid February with like getting the vision, the dream sort of dialed in vision. Like because I think a lot of times we get so much pressure put on ourselves that every day, week, month feels like a do or die moment. That's just the ego just trying to sustain things. So it's like, it's okay for people, like, they don't need to like make reckless, instant life transitions to be like, to Jerry Maguire their life or something or their job, like, I'm out of here. It's okay to like spend time in that free thinking atmosphere of like, what would you want to do differently? When I work with my clients and these 3 6 month or even this year-long coaching container, like the first session is always getting clarity, like what are your goals, like what are we going to do here, and then we do kind of like a QHHT style, Dolores Cannon style hypnosis to like seed those opportunities into the mind and into the heart and into the cellular level too, because little quick side note, it's like working with these ET beings, the Arcturians, like they know how to like come in and like help people heal and stuff happen. That's honestly what really drives a lot of my sessions is getting a lot of help on those higher spiritual levels. But it's like, we don't have to like go out and do this manifest destiny thing and just like, do it for hours and hours over and over again to force it to make it happen. That's almost like a manifestor mindset, which is a human design type, but that's such a small percentage of actual people. Most people are designed to more respond to life, to respond to energy, to respond to that inspiration, those like true desires. Inspiration, true desire is always going to start with the seed idea. Like, what is it that you're wanting to do? So that's where the sovereign entrepreneurial mindset of being the CEO of your own life takes precedence because you're the one at the helm. You're deciding, you're working with a mentor and or your spirit guides. Like you're working with your intuition to like decide what direction that you want to go in. It's okay to be in the co-creator model of like not going too far, waiting for spirit to tell you everything to do to take away free will, but also to honor the spiritual abilities like too that help like guide us so that we're not just like leading completely from free will ego. So that's where I would start is like it's okay, like take the pressure off, make sound decisions that feel nourishing. Yes, a little bit risky because it's going into the unknown, the uncertain territories of like what you're used to. Because once you start to make those decisions for a different vision, for new goals to evolve into your life, to move you away from something you're feeling stuck in, there is going to be challenges slash opportunities depending on the perception to go, this is what you're asking for. Like, are you ready for the next step? Are you ready for the next leap? And I really do believe that the ego makes it out that it's more hard or intense than it needs to be because a lot of this stuff is actually really beautiful things in the astrology and beautiful things going forward. It's just, it's the ego that is having to grapple with. We're leaving old systems,
Letting go, right, of the old versions of ourselves.
old version of self, old version of a collective reality, like choosing more independently what reality do you want to vibrate in, like higher dimensions, like engaging with reality and creating in that people.
Well,
And
yeah, so maybe, for me, it always starts with journaling and connecting with myself, my higher self, my guides every morning. And, the inspirations do come, they will come and sometimes slower, some come quickly, but and even the vision boards, great time of the year, wouldn't you say, to do a vision board?
so, yeah, vision boards. I definitely think that this is some of the best energy that we'll get right now for more rest and digest energy of relaxation, believe it or not. That's more feminine energy to wield the power of the central nervous system and the senses to tap into that vibration of what it feels like to manifest those things. So kind of like some old school, like Abraham Hicks style things of like being in the vortex and, feeling as if you've created that thing that you're intending and be okay with it being real. It's sort of this not divine nonchalance of like, you just place the order and you just know that it's coming. Then it's just taking a lot of actions that feel inspired from that. And then, it doesn't mean that we instantly, again, change our life and let go of all of our responsibility, especially right now. I think there's years to this where we have to like, take care of all of our responsibilities, but then be the adult goes, what is that next tier on top of where I'm at? Like assessing where am I at in my life? Like, am I in struggle? Am I stuck? Like what are the issues? Is it a money thing? Is it a health thing? Is it a relationship thing? Taking responsibility for those things. And then when things start to stabilize, it's like, okay, what's the next level? Inspiration, purpose, legacy. And it's like you just keep going up from there. And I think that's the very purposeful self-starter sort of mindset with this.
Yeah, and I think just remembering as we go through all these tumultuous external things happening that we're right where we're supposed to be. Would you agree that our soul knows?
Soul knows that
Our soul knows where we're supposed to be and go.
100%. Yeah, I think what we've been evolving out of is almost this like amnesia of just like the lower ego only human self where the soul hasn't been fully connected, the higher self hasn't fully connected into us. And so this gets into ideas, trusting the law of attraction through being these higher vibrational beings that we're more than just the meat suit that we wear. Like, thank God that we do have the physical, because a lot of this astrology this year is very much like, if you want to get out of any nervousness, uncertainty, anxiety, the antidote actually is materializing your dreams. It's actually like building them. But that is so much easier in the quantum manifestation when we are connecting not from the doer ego, mind only, especially sense of approach to this, but like the no, like I'm connected to source, oneness, I have a higher self. And so that part of us knows, it's just this has been the astrology, and it really won't shift until the summer. So just keep paying attention to this, of like where we get into looping thinking, stale routines, just only focused on the physical outcomes, and like actually having to remember when we get into those areas of those stressful situations to go, oh, wait, am I asking for spiritual guidance? Am I asking, what is my intuition saying? What are my spirit guides saying? Because there's almost like a pivot in those moments to actually reach into this like more quantum, higher spiritual vibrational sense of things to see the bigger picture. And part of that bigger picture is, wait, no, I'm connected to creation. I'm connected to my higher self. Like there is a way through this. And that's where all the lanes open up of the possibilities. So it's actually an illusion right now, being stuck in a certain day to day life that's actually wanting to release if it's not conducive to the soul growth. So that fear of that releasing is like kind of like, putting some pressure on us to go into these more quantum areas.
Fantastic. So I know you have a Sedona retreat coming up, May 11th to the 15th. Is there room in that?
There there is actually the Sedona Coherence Retreat. That is one where it's to help people if they're feeling stuck in any way and they want to create their vision or at least go to the next level, restore vitality and purpose. I actually literally just finished that landing page for that retreat and got it all going this past weekend for the new moon energy in Capricorn. So
Great.
this
So the link will be below, everyone,
yep,
to register
yep,
for that or for the 1 year coaching program. That looks fantastic. Also, you have other offers along with private coaching, correct?
correct.
Okay. Is there anything else coming to you through you that you want to share before we wrap up?
Just that one big transit this year with the whole Jupiter entering into Leo, there is going to be a focus a lot on kids, children coming up. And so I just want everyone to be mindful of whatever, comes up, especially starting in the summer, that some of the things being put out there about, whether it's like kids or education, like with children, like don't take it just at face value. Like think more of like a higher outside the box, like thinking of like, what do we need as society to make sure we're all being responsible, doing our part, especially around everyone from every area of life, so that there's equality, but like that includes children too. So just remember that mainstream media has a way of just regurgitating the same fear-based narratives and polarizing things to manipulate people's emotions to keep people from going into their creative abilities, right? Because when you infuse the emotion and the vibration of what it is that you want, you focus on it and you take action, like you manifest it. But when your emotions get hijacked by issues that you feel helpless on, like you have no control over in the world, it stunts the growth of your ability to manifest a reality that's actually contributing to a more positive change on it.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much, Eric Rosen. And click on the links below to find out about his amazing retreats and coaching opportunities. Thank you for joining us at Soulstream Media.
Yeah.
There you are. Thank you
Yeah.
so
So
much.
much. Yeah. Thanks so much for
You've been
having me
an
on.
amazing teacher for me and continue to be. And thank you for giving so much on your updates and videos. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Stacy.